All right, good afternoon, my coinaholics. It is Saturday, November 14th, 2020. Thank you for joining in on this special edition of the Pocket Change Market Report. I mean, they're all pretty special, right? If you could find coins, cherry pick them, find them in Pocket Change, bank rolls, and then turn around and make a good grip of money, it's kind of a good day. And it's very, very special when things like that happen. So, yes, that's what we do on this report. We take a look at all of the most relevant cherry picks and finds that people are coming across, and they're simply just flipping them on eBay and making some money in the process. I'm willing to bet you guys are wondering exactly what sells out there, and I'm going to tell you. I have 25 absolutely amazing listings that I'm willing to bet probably half this stuff on here a lot of folks have overlooked, they have thrown back, you name it. It's surprising that a lot of these are, just being prejudged as anything but a major variety or error. So we're going to talk about it today. If this is your first time here, I just wanted to reiterate that all the coins and their images are original to each independent seller. There's no modification, there's no cropping. You even get to see the background on a lot of these coins. And most importantly, none of the coins are graded. That would kind of defeat the purpose of making a quick buck. There are just some coins that speak for themselves. You just don't need to grade them. You could save yourself the $30, $40 for grading each coin and attribution fees. The money will stack up and pile up higher than it's worth, to the secondary market. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of the most relevant listings from the last 24 to 36 hours. As of this video, these are all fresh sales. So we're going to go ahead and start her off with this coin right here. We have a 1934D Lincoln Wheat Cent. Now, at first glance, the coin doesn't look like anything special. It's a nice circulated brown, probably an XF40 example, worth probably about a quarter. But upon closer examination, if you look at the mid-mark, you could find something really cool. Now, this one right here is an RPM. You could see the underlying D that is northwest of the primary D. This one is dubbed RPM number 2. And we're going to start off slow, like that slow dance, right? You got to, get in close and slow. This coin right here is sold for a best offer of $10. It may not seem like a lot, but considering that this is probably a coin that's worth a nickel or 10 cents, I'd say making $10 off a coin like this is more than worth pulling it out of change. So there you go. Repunch mint mark, one of the most plentiful varieties that you could find out there in just about every date up to 1989. Before the U.S. Mint decided to change over the design of the mint mark as part of the working die. So there you go. Pretty cool coin right here. Not a bad little return. The next one that we have here is a relatively common date. Don't let the mint mark fool you. It's a 1955S Lincoln Wheat Cent. This one is in pretty decent shape, albeit it does exhibit a few of the carbon spots in the field areas and even on the reverse. So the coin does look presentable from a standpoint like, yeah, I could fit this into an album. But make sure you take a look at every single device on your magnifier. And what am I talking about? You're going to see this crack right here that goes from the rim into the devices, and it's going to worm its way through, and it'll exit on one other part of the edge. Okay, they call this a pre-cud or a retained die break. So the dies are on the verge of failing in a big way. As with an automobile, these things are subjected to a lot of wear and tear. The more strikes, the more cracks, the more missing chunks and pieces fall off of the die. This is just one example where eventually the die piece will fall out and you will have a cud. We have examples of cuds further on along in the PCMR. But in any event, this coin in this particular condition sold for a mere $4.95. Again, $5 is $5, right? They all add up. You find many, many different types of varieties and errors. They certainly do add up. And speaking as a person that sells and trades online, believe me, every $5-10 hit adds up, and I end up making many hundreds, if not thousands of dollars every year by doing that very practice of flipping these very, very cheap and inexpensive coins. There is still a market for these. The next one that we have here is a no-date Lincoln wheat cent. As you can see, it struck off-center by about, 25%, give or take. It's a nice example of a coin that, it's an obsolete design. The U.S. Mint does not use the wheat cent reverse anymore on any of their coinage. In spite of the fact that the reverse has a lot of condition issues, this is still a desirable coin among error enthusiasts. This one example sold for $23.49. The obverse looks a lot better. As a matter of fact, if you put your hand over the reverse of the coin and just admired what you see on the front of the coin, I'd say it's a much better looking example than the total package. Okay, so here's everybody's favorite kind of like mini find. It's the 1999 P Delaware State Quarter. It's affectionately referred to as the Spitting Horse. In reality, this right here is actually the beginnings of a die crack that goes actually through Caesar Rodney. This is a early die state type. You don't see that crack go through the letters here. But all in all, people love these. There is that affinity, kind of like that niche collectible market out there for things like this. And you should probably just continue pulling these out. Now, they only exist on the Philadelphia struck coins. The later die state examples that show a physical, actual crack going through Caesar Rodney is going to be much more desirable. But a coin in this condition, which I would say is about AU50, sold for $12.50. Again, it has its niche audience. And because of that, these will always and will continue to sell for a little chunk of money. So the next one that we have here is a $1 Federal Reserve note. Now, it's a relatively newer example. It's a 95. The date isn't that old to where we don't see these anymore. As a matter of fact, I've seen dollar bills in circulation going all the way back to the 70s. So this one right here, no problem. Now, on its face, it doesn't look like anything special. I mean, the note is in really phenomenal shape. It's in high-grade condition. However, on the reverse, this is where all the magic happens. What we have here is a full 100% front-to-back offset error, also referred to as a wet ink transfer. So when these notes are being printed as a full sheet, keep in mind a full sheet has 32 notes on there, and then the sheets stack on top of each other as they're being printed. Keep in mind, the ink is still fresh and wet. So when you have a wet sheet that lands on top of another sheet, you have that impression, that transfer of the wet ink going from one to the other. All right, and that's what we have here. So this particular note sold for $157.50, and why it's sold for that kind of money is that you have a fully involved 100% transfer of the obverse or front design of the $1 bill on the reverse. Now, you do have partial offsets or partial wet ink transfers, or maybe you just see a little tiny percentage of that transfer onto the back of the note. But this one fully involved, very desirable. Now, this coin doesn't look like a whole lot, but to an eagle-eye collector, okay, what we have here is a little sliver of silver. Okay, when I mean silver, it's not quite gold-type caliber money, but silver in the sense that, you can make a lot more than what the coin is actually worth as scrap. Now, this 1935 Lincoln wheat cent has some obvious obverse lamination that you see here that just kind of streaks across the coin. Very nice. This coin here is sold for $16.50, which is equivalent to what? 3 silver quarters? I mean, if you look at it as far as a comparison, it's going to be a lot more clear. Like, wow, this thing is worth 3 silver 90% half dollars, or whatever, comparison you want to draw for something like this. Keep in mind, if it looks funny and it looks like something like this, make sure you pull it out. It's not worth throwing back when you can make 10, 15, 20 bucks off of something this simple. Now, this is a really cool error. It's a 1996 P Lincoln Memorial Cent, which exhibits an obverse brockage. Okay, it's off-center right here. Not something likely that you would come across and change, but I figured I'd throw this one in there because it is raw. Typically, you don't see coins like this raw that often. Most of them are graded. This one here sold for $44. There you go. Okay, so what have I told you guys? Make sure you double check all of the new coins. The U.S. Mint is hyper producing every single denomination of 2020 coinage, so much so that they are overlooking the quality aspect of the coins. Here's another Salt River Bay National Park quarter, 2020 Philadelphia. The front of the coin, wow, struck through a tremendous amount of grease. And a lot of the devices on the coin are either half there or completely obliterated. The fields are completely all messed up. You have a little bit of spots on the reverse also of little pockets of the grease that was on the die at that point. But this one right here, I'm telling you, 2020 is a gold mine for a number of different reasons. Some would say the West Point quarters. I would say, hey, you know what? Check out the errors. They are worth pulling out. And to give you an idea, this one sold for $83.24. I mean, who would have thought? It's easy money. It's 4 $20 bills in your pocket. Crazy, crazy, crazy amount of money for these brand new coins. So for those of you east of the Mississippi, make sure you continue looking. They could be as radical as this, or it could be a little bit more minor. I've seen those coins sell for 15 to 20 bucks. I do have another one on the list that you guys need to know about. So make sure you keep this one on the back of your mind. Okay, so it was really cool to see this listing. Obviously it's a couple of state quarters. These are 2004 D Wisconsin's. This was actually from a seller in San Antonio, Texas. And he has an example of a low leaf and a high leaf variant of the Wisconsin quarter. And it's always nice to see a pair being sold. And this one right here is sold for $155. And a little interesting point of fact, I've brought it up before, but these anomalies or errors or varieties or whatever you want to call them, they are in the Cherry Picker's Guide and they're also in the Red Book. These coins were distributed in Texas and Oklahoma, and then to a lesser extent in Arkansas. So for those of you folks that reside in these areas, that my listeners, make sure that you keep an eye out for these quarters. People are still finding them. I hear about people finding them all the time. I think the rate of production of either of these varieties is still quite high, while the opportunity to sell these for a good amount of money is still there even to this day. So make sure you keep that in mind. All right, so one thing I love doing is cherry picking through old, cull, obsolete coins. Okay, this is an 1853 Trime or 3-cent piece. It's the silver type. It's got the 6-pointed star on the obverse. It's got the Roman numeral 3. This one, however, okay, is probably a very inexpensive coin, probably under $10 as it sits, and was probably cherry picked for a very low amount of money. However, if you're good, all right, it's going to take some skill and quality to do so. This one has a little obverse cut right here on the bottom of the date. And people have been taking advantage of errors like this all the time. You know, a coin dealer would have them in their case, for like 10, 15 bucks. You pick one up, you know exactly what you have, and bada bing, bada boom. A day later, you end up selling it for $60, which is how much, ironically, this one sold for. Now, I'm going to tell everyone, I tell everybody, every time I do a PCMR, the most important tool in your toolbox is going to be a nice quality magnifier, something like 8 to 10 times power. You're going to need something like that to look at varieties and errors. Some people will say, well, I can look at it just fine with the naked eye. I'm like, no, you can't. You do not have that kind of perfect vision to actually see some of the more valuable varieties out there. Okay, so if you need them, I have them in Amazon, links below in the description box. Go ahead and check them out. You don't have to spend a ton of money. I got them for about $8 to $10 a piece in those links. Go ahead and peruse it. You don't need anything fancy, no microscopes or 30 times power loop or anything like that. All you need is 8 to 10 times power, something portable, something you can stick in your pocket when you're out and about. But anyways, that's going to be a key tool for your success. But anyways, getting back to this Trime, really nice piece, nice cherry pick here. Okay, so we have a coin here that was offered up by a seller and actually sold at 1984 P Jefferson Nickel. Now, they hit it out of the park with the obverse picture. Okay, it's nice and clear. The reverse is a great big old stink PU fest. This one right here, as you can see, has a little rim clip. It's pretty simple. Rim clip, you got the opposite flattening over here, the Blakesley effect. Make sure you keep an eye out for that. This one sold for $8. Just like that, $8 for a 5-cent. Just throw into your piggy bank type coin. So this is probably, I have two favorite listings for this week. This is one of them, believe it or not, a 1970 D Roosevelt Dime that is in really phenomenal shape. I would have to guess that this was probably in a mid set. I'm not sure, but this one right here, I am so happy that this one came up on auction, and you just don't see a lot of varieties from Roosevelt Dimes that pop up on the secondary market. This one is a really nice double die reverse, so you can see the splitting, you can see the notching here in F and of. You can see more of this right here on the letters in America. Here's more right here. I mean, the key, some will say, well, it looks like machine doubling. Well, machine doubling won't have notching on the corners of the devices, silly. So I just thought I'd bring this one up because this is a great kind of like example video of kind of differentiating machine doubling to actual hub doubling or real doubled die. This one right here even has the notching on the little flame licks on that torch on the back. Just an overall cool coin. I kind of feel like this one should have sold for a lot more, but I think this one is a little bit more common than what it needs to be. It sold for $19.35. Okay, so this one's cool. It's a Red Book variety. It's a Cherry Picker's Guide variety. It's 1943 P Silver War Nickel. And the coin looks to be in high grade. It was actually advertised on the seller's listing as being an AU to mid-state. However, there's a few things that kind of makes me think that this coin was cleaned at one point. Just the overall lack of luster, even in the protected areas. Plus, you have all of the goop that's kind of like nestled in between all of the devices, are all indicative of some sort of like older cleaning. However, that really doesn't mean a whole lot in terms of what this coin has to offer to a collector. Yes, it's the doubled I 1943 P Jefferson Nickel. Just an overall well-collected variety. If you could find one that's in this nice a shape, in spite of the fact that it might have been cleaned, I mean, you are on easy street when it comes to making some money off this. It sold for $83.94. Well done. Great looking coin. And then another seller ended up having just an overall little cache of these 2006 P Jefferson Nickels, which I would assume were all out of like one batch, like, either one roll, or maybe this person had a box full of 2006 Philadelphias. By the way, this is the brand new obverse design after the 2005 Westward Journey Nickels happened. But anyways, these coins all exhibit some sort of strike-through grease error on there. You can see it all over the place. And then the actual other image that they included into their listing shows all different types of strike-throughs, which is phenomenal. So this seller right here is selling these for $7.99 shipped. He has sold a number of them and is making pretty good money. All right, so keep this in mind. If you got some of those brand new rolls, keep in mind, it's 2020. There's going to be a lot more errors in those rolls, so make sure you take that into consideration. that you check for things like this. There's actually a lot of them out there, and people do want them in their error set. Okay, so here's the other favorite coin of the week. Okay, so we have a 1975 D Jefferson Nickel. This coin has two things going for it. Actually, make it three. The coin is in just phenomenal condition. It's probably a low mid state, maybe a 61 or 62. This one right here is also the high D mint mark type. It's not quite a variant or an error, but it is well within the mint tolerances. And thirdly, this one also has a nice cut right here over the word God and we. So with all three of those things considering, this thing sold for $335. Yeah, it's quite a bit of money, and you know that is the market. This is a trifecta of just pure cherry-picked gold right here. This is a really beautiful coin, so make sure you guys keep an eye out just for the high D. And they also exist with the CUD and without it. But if you're able to find one with the high D, that's a coin in itself, even in like great circulating condition, sells for like 20 to 30 bucks. I mean, you would be surprised. All right, so there was a few people that asked me, what exactly is a BEP brick and what does it look like? So BEP stands for Bureau of Engraving and Printing. They are the facility, similar to the U.S. Mint, that actually prints and produces our currency, our dollar bills, our 5s, 10s, 20s, 50s, hundos. This is an actual standard brick. Now, this is a brick of $1 bills. There is typically 10 straps or 1,000 $1 bills. And they're all consecutive, too. Something you're going to want to look at on the BEP bricks is this information. So you're going to have this this label with a barcode on the top. You're going to have the district. This one's a Cleveland $1 brick. And it's going to have the series 2017 and the starting serial number of this brick. And then just add 1,000. So this one would be 23594001. And it'll go all the way to 5001. All right, so that's what's in there. And normally you would buy these to search through them for errors or star notes and all that great stuff. These are a treasure hunt in themselves. And if you could find one that exhibits some low numbers, low serials, or perhaps other different types of fancies, I mean, you have something there that a lot of people would want in the currency collecting field. Now, this one right here sold for $1,658.05. So it's a pretty decent rate of return off of $1,000 face. Now, these you could order from the bank, but you need to go in there and specify that you want a BEP brick. All right, and you know, you could try it, and if it doesn't work out, you could take those bricks, turn around, make $500-600 a pop. I mean, it's easy money if and only if you have the money to invest in it. There you go. Pretty simple. It's house money, pretty much. All right, so this is about the most extreme off-center coin that exhibits near a full date. I mean, you know it's a 1989 Philadelphia. It doesn't show the 1 and 9 in the date, but, you know, the last 2 digits of the date and the mint mark are the most important in determining the actual age of the coin. This nickel is about 85 to 90% off-center. I mean, it's really, really off-center. And very, very desirable because of how far out and offset the strike is. This one right here is sold for $23.50. So here's the other Salt River Bay. And I'm willing to bet that probably 95% of you will probably overlook this, and that's okay. Now you won't have to because you know what to look for. So we don't need to look at the reverse. There's nothing going on there. Okay, we do know it's the Salt River Bay design. This particular coin right here has a nice strike through on the back of the neck. That's right. That's all it takes. A tiny little strike through, a little something something that draws your eye, and you know exactly what it is. This coin sold for $22.24. It is just mind-boggling the amount of brand new 2020 errors that exist out there today. All right, definitely keep an eye out, even for some of the most minor stuff like this one. What we have here is the 1959 Lincoln Memorial Cent that has a right good sized clip right there. All right. So what did this error sell for? It sold for $9.49. The coin is not in great shape, but it doesn't really matter. The clip speaks for itself, and therefore it sold for nearly $10. Here's just an overall pleasing 10% off-center North Carolina state quarter. It's a 2001 Philadelphia. It's just the right shape that you can still find in a roll, and you don't have to necessarily just find North Carolina. These exist all throughout every single 50 states, plus the territories. This one sold for $20. Not too bad. Nice coin. And we have a 1984 P Lincoln Memorial Cent. This one right here, if you haven't guessed, has a really nice die clash in the background there. They call this the Jailhouse Lincoln Cent. You even have a little bit of the clashing on the reverse through these little bays here in the Lincoln Memorial. This coin right here, and there's a little close-up of the clashing, sold for $25.75. I haven't talked about clashing as much as I should, mainly because I haven't seen a whole lot sold on the secondary market. This is a great example of a coin with a strong clash that sells for a good amount of money. Plus, the grade is also quite nice. It does have some carbon spotting, so keep that in mind. Okay, so here's a 1956 D. Now, the coin looks very mushy as far as its strike, so this coin has probably been struck with some pretty worn out dies at this point. But the most intriguing part is going to be kind of like this little flippy tab that's sitting over the word Liberty. Upon closer examination, we have a retained lamination. Do not pull the lamination. It's worth more when it's still stuck to the coin. This one sold for $19.95. Willing to bet that probably a lot of folks have thrown this back into their change. Okay, here's another new coin. This time it's a 2019 Philadelphia Lincoln Shield Cent. This one looks a little bit off-center, but what we have here is a partial tilted collar. All right, so the collar wasn't quite seated up all the way directly to the edge of the coin when this coin was struck. The reason why I know it is a partial tilted collar is because you still have a full design on the opposite side, whereas on an off-center struck coin, you begin to see some of the devices being cut off on the opposite side. So this is a really nice coin on a brand new coin, might I add. Sold for $13.48. Now this is a tough one. It's the 1972 Eisenhower dollar. The reason why it's so tough is this is a coin and denomination, might I add, that doesn't circulate quite that much anymore. You might be able to find these at the bank. If you ask, they might give you some. People do still deposit these. You just don't see them out there in the wild as much as you should. Now, it's because of the size. These things are huge. But this one right here exhibits two rim clips. So we got a double rim clip error on the 72 Ike. And this one sold for $54.19. Rim clips on this particular coin, extremely rare. I would say it's just probably more rare than the Susan B. Anthony dollar with two rim clips. So good luck finding either. But if you did, there you go. This one sold for quite a good chunk of money. And then the last duo of coins of the PCMR is going to be this set that was sold by the seller as a 1958 Lincoln Wheat Cent and a 1945 Lincoln Wheat Cent, both exhibiting die cuts, or this die break cut right here on the base of Lincoln's bust on the 58, and then the reverse of the 1945. So he sold it as a pair. Personally, I probably would have sold them separately. You would have gotten a little bit more money, but I guess just to kind of expedite and maybe do one shipment, that's why this individual sold it as a pair. There is the other side. The 1958, you can see weakness over pluribus, so that's what you want to see. On the 45, where the cut is on the back, the actual corresponding side would be like right here. So there's nothing there, just a whole lot of empty space on the coin. But this duo sold for $59.76. And yes, it's worth every penny. Cuds are probably one of the most pricey errors to find out there and change today. So make sure you look for those as well. And that's going to go ahead and do it. Hopefully you guys got a little bit of creative energy going for wanting to look for some of these incredible errors and varieties. There was a nice little mix today compared to last week. A lot more diverse. So I like stuff like that. Thank you guys for watching. As always, like, share, and subscribe. Hit that good old bell for instant notifications. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. I want to thank each and every single one of you for joining in, and I hope to see you soon. So, yeah, there you go. You guys take care, and I shall see you on the next video. You guys take care. Take care. Take care.